You've made it to Chiro Hustle. Sit back and learn from the greatest influencers in the profession on the world's #1 chiropractic podcast. This episode is brought to you by Peach State Payments. Ethical processing, more profit, less stress. Chiro HD, more than an EHR. Projects management simplified. The Chiro Speaking Company. Attract, educate, and convert. Chiro Spring, cloud-based, user-friendly software with all the essential features chiropractors need. Redmond Relight. The IFCO. Chiro Moguls. Chiro Health USA. Sherman College of Chiropractic. Pure Chiro Notes, Titronics, and Life West College of Chiropractic. Let's hustle. This episode of Chiro Hustle is brought to you by Relight Hydration by Redmond. Here's the truth. Most Americans are walking around dehydrated, low energy, brain fog, muscle cramps, afternoon crashes, and many people think they just need more coffee, when they actually need more electrolytes. Because hydration isn't just about drinking more water, it's about the minerals. Your body relies on electrolytes like sodium, potassium, and trace minerals to help your cells actually absorb and use the water you drink. Without those minerals, water alone doesn't do the job. That's where Relight Hydration comes in. Relight is built around Redmond Real Salt, a natural, mineral-rich salt harvested from an ancient seabed in Utah. It provides the foundational sodium your body needs for proper hydration, along with balanced electrolytes to support energy, muscle function, and daily performance. No artificial dyes, no unnecessary fillers, just clean electrolytes built around real mineral salt. Because at Redmond, we believe the secret's in the salt. If you're new to Relight, start with their sample pack so you can try multiple flavors and find your favorite. Once hydration becomes part of your daily rhythm, you'll feel the difference. And chiropractors understand this well. The nervous system runs on electrical signals, and electrolytes help support that communication throughout the body. If you're tired of hitting the wall mid-afternoon, it might not be more caffeine you need. It might just be better hydration. Go to chirohustle.com and get 25% off of Relight with their exclusive promo. Hydrate smarter, move better, stay aligned.
Hey guys, welcome to episode 765 of the Chiro Hustle Podcast. I'm your producer, Luke Millette, and here's your host, James Chester.
So today we have the opportunity of interviewing Dr. Angela Marick. And if you want to hear our conversation about international leadership and introducing chiropractic care to Kenya, stay tuned for the full episode. Welcome back. This is another episode of the Chiro Hustle Podcast. Today I have Dr. Angela. I didn't ask you how to say your last name.
It's Marick.
Marick. So I have Dr. Angela Marick on with me today. I always tell people the kiss of death in journalism is mispronouncing somebody's name. So I'm glad I just took a pause there and got it right. But we're going to talk all things chiropractic today. We're going to talk about her career. International leadership is one topic she wants to discuss. She wants to discuss choosing the path that doesn't always have a flashlight, which I think is an interesting topic. Maybe we can shine some light on that. And introducing chiropractic care to Witamu, Kenya, which is a place that she's been going. How many times have you gone there now?
Well, we've been many times, but we have now done with a chiropractic focus twice.
Okay. So bringing chiropractic, the science, philosophy, and art to Kenya, which I think is pretty darn cool. So we'll talk about that, and we'll have some different questions that we'll ask with our regular question set that we have, that we follow the Chiro Hustle brand. But before we get into this episode, I want to let you know our big why. Like I always do, I tell you, why do we do what we do at Chiro Hustle? Well, first things first is freedom of speech. We believe that that is the integrity part of producing a show like this. We know what it's like to be traffic throttled and shadow banned and censored. We'd never do that to you. We also believe in medical freedom and family health freedom. They are not the same things, but if you need guidance on either of those topics, find a chiropractor in your neighborhood. I'm sure they'd be happy to guide you and your family to better health decisions. When it comes to philosophy, we do protect BJ Palmer Sacred Trust. If you don't know what that is, go to the show notes, click on it, and you're going to learn more about chiropractic than you did previously. I guarantee you, even if you've been practicing for 3 decades. Just go check it out. If you know a chiropractic student that's not getting the truth about chiropractic with science, art, and philosophy, share the show with them. Share the show with a chiropractor that's graduated recently or somebody that's been out less than 5 years, so they start understanding chiropractic the way that we see it through our lens. And then we do support subluxation-based chiropractic. We believe in innate intelligence, universal intelligence, and the educated intelligence. We believe that when man or woman, the physical, gets adjusted, it connects them to man or woman, the spiritual. With that, this is Dr. Angela Marick, episode 765. Welcome to the show.
Thank you. It's an honor to be here.
Yeah, thank you, Barry Hobbs, for connecting us. Dr. Barry Hobbs, out of Michigan, Livonia, I believe. So thank you, Barry, for connecting us. So Dr. Angela, chiropractic story. I know it's kind of an icebreaker question, but how did you decide you're going to be a chiropractor?
I think it's one of those things, like you hear different stories. Sometimes it chooses you and you weren't looking for it. I graduated at the end of the 90s from Cornell University with a nutrition degree. And I thought, well, I'm going to become a medical doctor and a pediatrician. And I happened to meet a chiropractor who was teaching my aerobics class, of all things, and he invited me to his office. And I always had this thought, because I didn't know anything about it, I'd never been exposed to chiropractic. So I had this belief that they were kind of weird, maybe not very intelligent, or doing some wackadoodle things. So I had some significant skepticism. And I went and saw him, and I hung around his office, and I was like, wait a minute, people are getting better, and they're not using drugs or surgery. And this guy seems intelligent. And within 3 months, I was enrolled and started at Palmer College of Chiropractic. It just completely got my attention, and it felt aligned with where I was headed.
When was your first adjustment?
My first adjustment was after I arrived at school.
Really?
Yeah.
So you decided to go study a profession that you never actually experienced the magic of.
No. I feel like my, when I mentioned about the path without a flashlight, I find sometimes when I feel that like gut knowing, I just follow it without always knowing why. I just knew I was meant to. And this was, for a young woman, it was my first step making a decision where I wasn't doing it for someone else. I was doing it from a place, I just call it innate intelligence, that was really guiding me to start at Palmer. So it was a big deal for me as a young woman to make a decision to do something that was unlike anything anyone in my family had ever done.
So rewriting history. How did you decide to start writing history in Davenport, Iowa? Why not somewhere else?
Well, I was fascinated that it was where the original, chiropractic adjustment happened. I was curious about BJ and DD, and just really like understanding how the body can heal itself. Like it just fascinated me because I was an athlete in college. I was a springboard diver. So I was always about taking care of the body and mindset. So it just aligned. So I showed up and, matriculated in school, but I had this idea because I was used to, being a really good student. I thought when you go to chiropractic school, you should get straight A's because that will guarantee you will be the best, most successful chiropractor. So I want to tell all of the young students out there that is not the end all be all. I learned when I was so focused on studies, which I learned a lot of things, but graduating top of the class does not guarantee you understand how to take care of subluxation or how to take care of a human that's in front of you, or when a mom hands you their baby.
Yeah, nobody ever asks what your GPA is either, do they?
Nobody cares. No. But in my brain, that was where my focus was at that time, my 20-some-year-old version.
So if you could go back in time and you got a chance to either have a conversation with one of 4 people, BJ Palmer, DD Palmer, Mabel Heath Palmer, or Harvey Lillard, who would you choose?
I would probably choose Mabel. I mean, I guess I'm a woman. but also I think too of just really understanding the different intersectionality as, not only being a woman, but also being curious and learning, like, what is it like to navigate, as a mom, as a chiropractor, as someone that's actually also a trailblazer. And like, how does that all align in a way that creates, forward momentum while not completely burning yourself out in the process? And so that would be a fascinating conversation that I would love to explore with her and how she navigated that.
Well, I think if I'm not mistaken, I think she was the one that wrote the original anatomy and physiology books back at PCS, Palmer School of Chiropractic.
I didn't remember that. Well, I'll tell you, that was one of my favorite classes. I actually was a teaching assistant in the cadaver labs because I was so fascinated by anatomy. I just loved hanging out around there.
I believe Mabel was the one that actually created the first books on A&P that chiropractic students back in Palmer School of Chiropractic were learning from.
Good to know. Thanks for that history.
It's pretty wild, right?
Yeah, for sure.
I mean, as being a chirophile, you start picking up like knowledge over the years and things that might, be interesting to, subject matter and things like that. So it's kind of fun to share those things. But yeah, I think it's cool that you shared some advice to chiropractic students too, because I think a lot of them, they don't realize what the real world is in front of them. They just get stuck in the curriculum, and then they don't realize that like there's a real business out there that they have to start going to, function as not only like the person giving care, but they actually have to like be in charge of like a whole new small business. So
yeah, it's huge. And you don't realize that, right? We don't know what we don't know. And I hadn't learned in that particular season, especially in education, how to really ask good questions. I hadn't learned, like I always joke, I'm like, I really did a great job at regurgitating. And I remember hearing Reggie Gold speak while I was at school one time, and his title of his speech was "Think, Damn It, Think." And, I always like to think, but I never shared some of my thoughts, and I never really navigated. Like, I never felt like I had a space to really question. It was just, in my own upbringing. So I really reflecting now, understanding like what brilliant advice to have. And so I would offer that for all students, like, use your gorgeous brain, like allow yourself to explore what lights you up. I'm talking to a young chiropractor right now who's my chiropractor adjusting me. And he's like, oh my gosh, I just discovered this. And like, he's showing this to me on like, 3-dimensional x-rays. And I'm like, and he's so excited. And he wants to go tell all the other chiropractors. And it's another way of how to like just develop more certainty and like his craft and all the things. And to witness this young man like totally lit up and discovering these new ways, like, yes, we want to like bring that like vibrant aliveness into our profession and to support that and to encourage it. And that was just something that I just didn't experience a lot of, and through my formal education. And I just encourage students, like, follow that natural curiosity. Don't let it get squashed because you have 7,000 tests in 1 week and board exams and all the things. Like, follow that natural curiosity. It will guide you well.
I think it's really important to share that message. But you got me thinking now. We talked a little bit about Reggie Gold now. We talked a little bit about the Palmers. Now, I guess the question for me is of interest is, who are some of your mentors? Who are some of the people that influenced you to become the doctor that you are today throughout your matriculation, as you called it?
Yeah. At the time it was, when I was in school, I just wanted to graduate at the top of my class. That was my focus. And I remember like, I didn't really do a lot of clubs. I didn't get really involved with that. But what I did learn right out of school is one of my neighbors was a chiropractor. And he's like, hey, have you ever thought about getting a coach? And I had no idea. I had never experienced coaching other than being an athlete, having, my coach for my sport. And his name is Jim Schaefer, Dr. Jim Schaefer. And he started like introducing me like how that could help change mindset. And over time, I said yes, and I hired my first and then of many coaches, and that was one of the biggest things. I had a coach, Dr. Troy Dukowitz, for nearly 10 years. When I started off right out of school as an associate, and then I went to become an independent contractor, and then I started my chiropractic business in 2010. And he was my coach through all of that and many chapters and seasons of my journey. And I attribute his guidance to like help me walk through what does it look like to start a business? What does it look like to create a practice that has life to it, that's not just lay down the table, get adjusted, but like has like a whole experience for each person that walks through. And I can share in just a little bit, but my evolution through my journey more recently, Dr. Jack Borla, I got introduced a year and a half ago, and he has just become a dear friend. And I love his flavor of how he leads and guides and how he invites people to his table and to connect. And so, and then coming back now as a seasoned chiropractor, human, if you will, lifer, really allowing BJ Palmer's words to come back and have different meaning than they did 20 years ago. And I've actually been drawn to wanting to read. I've had this natural curiosity, which I think was kind of squelched because I worked so hard to try to get straight A's that I didn't really understand the magic, the extra something that chiropractic really was that BJ talked about. And now I have this like desire to want to be more engaged. It's kind of like, we think about a couple that's been married for a really long time. They go through different seasons of their marriage, right? And sometimes they're like super in love, and other times they're just kind of like coasting as they're raising the kids. I just imagine like my journey with chiropractic has gone through some different seasons, and it's in a really fun season of discovery that I was not expecting.
Well, I think it's really cool that you can share that on a podcast like this, because I think it's an eye opener for people, because love does mature, and the love of chiropractic does mature, and it does seem like a sprint when you don't realize how important the philosophy of the profession is to the profession, and to become a competent adjuster. And I talk to a lot of leaders and I say, look, if we're not teaching philosophy and adjusting, what are we doing? Like, those are the fundamentals. Like, if you're going to become a high diver, like you said, that's something you were doing. Like, if you're going to do that, you got to know the fundamentals, right?
Right. You have to do the basic dives. And, and I remember when I was a diver, I was like, I don't want to do the basics. I want to do the fun stuff, right? I want to do all the twists. But if you don't have the basics down, those twists, you will land flat. And boy, did I land flat many times and have the bruises to prove it. Is it okay if I share a little bit more about the story of how it evolved? Okay. Well, it's just like, I get it. It's my story, and it's sacred to me. As we were talking, how we kind of kicked off our conversation earlier today, it kind of goes into that space. I remember when I started my practice, I was so grateful. I was fortunate to start a beautiful practice that grew very steadily. It was serving, it was a nice medium-sized practice serving people. I was raising 2 young boys at the time, and my husband was working a lot. And I remember, and this is maybe more for the women chiropractors out there, and maybe that's evolving from the time I was new in practice. But I just remember feeling it was all on me. Raising these 2 children, my husband was working 100 hours a week as a CIO of a small payrolling company, and I was trying to navigate, how do I grow this practice, raise these children, and take care of myself, because I want to be a product of my product, not just be someone who's like stressed. Like, if the chiropractor is falling apart and not taking care of themselves, like, I feel like that's not an integrity of what we are sharing and telling about, right? And so anyway, so I really was trying to navigate a lot of that, and I started getting my feet under me, and I started building this beautiful practice that was mine, that I'd never ever thought I'd ever be a business owner. There's no woman in my lineage that I know of that were business owners. So there was a lot of like trailblazing already happening. And I remember walking down the hall of my practice and I'm like, you know what? I think I got this life figured out. I just want to tell you, if you ever think that, please don't, because if you're not ready for your life to take a wild swing, and mine did. Within a couple of years, my husband, Josh, who I met in college, was diagnosed with very aggressive terminal cancer. And within 10 and a half months, I was widowed at 39. And one of the things that I didn't realize was going to happen was like all the things that we were used to, right? Your identity, who you are as a chiropractor, as a business owner, as a wife. All of a sudden, all of my kind of identities were being challenged, and I didn't know which way I wanted to move forward. The other element too is my late husband told me, he's like, you're going to meet somebody and it'll be soon. And it's okay. And within a few months, I met my next husband, which was wildly faster than I was expecting. But as you can imagine, when you go from being with someone for 20 years and having this stable, very secure life, all of a sudden, it's completely different. There's somebody else introduced. I needed to take a step back from my practice. And at that time, I had hired my associate, and I realized I needed to let my practice go so I could be home to support my two children. And then I had a stepson, so that we could really kind of reimagine, rebuild, heal as a family. And I sold my practice to my associate in 2019. And I took a step out. I started doing more coaching. I just wanted to help other women, especially that were business owners, and just to help support them, as it really, I didn't realize, was helping me heal in my journey. And then I was in Kenya in 2022 or 2023, and I offered a chiropractic adjustment to a man named Pembe in the middle of their bar, which was a pavilion in the middle of a field. And I adjusted him, and he sat up and he looked me in the eye and he said, do not be selfish with your gifts. And something, I'm emotionally talking about it, but something broke inside me, and it was like, you need to come back to this. And I didn't know that that was on the radar, and I didn't know what it was going to look like. You know, I'd already sold my practice. But then the next thing, I went to my high school or my chiropractic reunion, my 20th, and reconnected with one of my classmates, Dr. Kyle Troyer. And he said, Ange, what if we did a chiropractic mission trip to Kenya? And I'm like, really? I don't know if I'm qualified for that. And he said, I know some people that might want to come. And we started talking about it for a year, and the people gathered. And I thought I was just going to go there and just bring people together. I wasn't even thinking I would be actually practicing. I just wanted to bring people together and introduce chiropractic. And somebody wasn't able to come. And we were doing a technique. They were doing a technique that I hadn't learned yet. And Kyle's like, hey, you ready to learn this next technique? One that BJ did, called knee, chest, upper cervical. And let's do this. So we went to Kenya in July with 3 other chiropractors and 3 support team members, and we offered chiropractic care to Watamu, Kenya, who had never heard of chiropractic ever before, using a technique that I was learning. And I witnessed the miracles again. Actually, I would say in a whole different way. And in those 5 days, we served over 4,000 visits with 4 of us adjusting. And the life that started to come back and bringing people together to do something that feels greater. I was just on a call today because I talked to my friends in Kenya, my collaborators, and one of them was like, because we've helped you in this, that people see, like, we've become famous in the community. People are looking for us to talk about health and well-being. And yeah, there's so much that I can go on and on about it. I'm going to pause there because that was a lot in just a little bit. So, yeah.
You've made it to Chiro Hustle. Sit back and learn from the greatest influencers in the profession on the world's #1 chiropractic podcast. This episode is brought to you by Peach State Payments, ethical processing, more profit, less stress. Chiro HD, more than an EHR, practice management simplified. The Chiro Speaking Company, attract, educate, and convert. Chiro Spring, cloud-based, user-friendly software with all the essential features chiropractors need. Redmond Relight, the IFCO, Chiro Moguls, Chiro Health USA, Sherman College of Chiropractic, Pure Chiro Notes, Titronics, and Life West College of Chiropractic. Let's hustle. Hey docs, let me ask you something. Are you adjusting patients but not adjusting your revenue? Because a lot of chiropractors are still undercharging without even realizing it. They're accepting insurance allowances that are just too low. And they're hesitant to raise the fees because they're worried about pushback from patients. The problem is, when your fees and financial systems aren't aligned, it creates a slow leak in your practice. And when you try to grow, more marketing, more patients, maybe even another location, the leak gets bigger. There's actually a smarter way to handle this. Chiro Health USA helps chiropractors charge appropriately when insurance is available while still serving cash or limited benefit patients through a compliant discount medical plan. The results? Many practices see revenue increases around 15 to 20% without adding more visits. Same patients, better margins, more freedom. If you want to stop leaving money on the table and build a practice that's both profitable and compliant, check out chirohealthusa.com to learn more.
Well, you did open up a lot of idea to people there. And, I was talking to the team that produces, I do 2 podcasts. I launched another one called Get Better Faster. And we're 5 weeks old and already in health and fitness on Apple iTunes. We're in the top 200, which is unprecedented. We have 16 shows out. And I was talking to the guy that does all of our podcast producing. Shout out to Tom at Podetize. If you guys want to create a podcast, reach out to Tom. He doesn't pay me to say that stuff, but they're doing an incredible job with me. And that you're saying that, there's a lot of things I talked to him about yesterday because we're going to follow similar strategies for Chiro Hustle. But he said that I said to him, the reason that I work well is because I don't just dream, I do. And I think that anybody that works with me, they get a proven product that does not just dream, but they dream and do. And it sounds like that's what Kenya is giving you. It's when you get a chance to dream and do, and you're a proven product, it's something that makes other people's lives improve. I said, and this is no strike against my other podcast team, but I said, if I would have left it to them to just be in charge of launching and all of that, they'd still be dreaming. And it would be a year later and the dream still wouldn't be getting done. And I said that's the thing about most podcasts is people have a lot of dream energy, but when they realize how much doing energy it takes, it doesn't seem as fun anymore. So I just want to say it's a major accomplishment for what you're doing. And you can take your dreamer and your doer and you can put them on the same track together and you can go out there and help and serve and do it as beautifully as you explained and with as much enthusiasm and service, because that's really what chiropractic is. It's a service profession. And, they always used to say in philosophy is give, love, serve. And I think that's a DE method.
dynamic essentials. Give for the sake of giving, serve for the sake of serving, love for the sake of loving, and give out of your whole abundance, expecting nothing in return. And that is the eloquence of the adjustment. And that's why when you're at that little watering hole and you gave that first adjustment, he said, damn, why don't you give this to more people? Shame on you. Deliver your gold. You have gold in these hands. Like, give the gold to the people.
Well, I got to tell you, Pembe, who I adjusted, he helped us with our first mission trip in July. And I have something in me, as you say, dreaming and doing. And I appreciate you sharing that. And congratulations on the incredible success of both your podcasts. Like, that is something to really honor and celebrate, because it comes from these like pure intentions, right? And then taking action from that place, right? And, you know, these 10 years that I've navigated from when my first husband passed away has been a hell of a journey of discovering grief, right? Navigating that, you know, the things that we take for granted all of a sudden just are completely not there anymore.
Probably some anger.
Oh, for sure. Oh, yeah. So I felt anger, to be honest, in my grief journey 4 years after he passed. And that's when I found kickboxing. So I'm a big advocate of moving energy when we feel those big emotions. And I believe too, and you know, you asked me of the 4 people who would I talk to. I'd also like to talk to BJ, because he made some pretty profound decisions. I'm always like, how did he navigate the capacity of that internally? Now, you know, that's just my projecting of like, just when we make these like big, huge shifts and knowing that it will impact a lot of people. I also imagine his why was so deep that he was like, yeah, this is just what you do. But, you know, going into this space and going to Kenya, which was not on my radar, just a little context. My brother moved there in 2019. I decided to go and visit. And the next thing you know, I fell in love with the country, the people. And then I connected with another woman who's in Kenya, and she's like, hey, let's start a school. I'm like, what? And so, yeah, a few months later, we started a school. So we have a school as well in Kenya, supporting young students, and ideas of like, what else would that look like, bringing more chiropractic care to the area, and just really allow. The other element too that I like to think about, I feel called to go there. And there's something I feel like, you know, is that there's such a poverty mindset, in our world. And every time I go to Kenya, because, you know, I've had this idea when I thought of Kenya or Africa in general, is I just thought of the 90s visions we saw about Ethiopia and the famine, thinking it was all desert and there were distended bellies, babies were starving and all the things. And I go to Kenya and I see green, I see aliveness, right? And then this desire that, you know, this intention, when we introduced chiropractic care in July, of people wanting more of that connection, wanting to have more life and express more of it as we release the stress and the interference in our nervous system. So we did our first test drive, if you will, mission trip in July, just to see, hey, you know, what are the results? You know, what are you guys experiencing? And do you want us to come back? Because I always want to offer people sovereignty in their choices versus like, I have the agenda and you know, I know best. And so, rather than just let's come together. And so it was clear, they're like, yes, please come back. Well, I knew in my heart that we needed to. And as we're starting something new, and maybe you've had this experience too, James, is also getting the word out. And so I appreciate this opportunity. So no other chiropractor at the time was able to come with me for this next trip that we did in November. So I offered a 3-day clinic with my husband and my son, helping run the clinic with our friend Pembe, who was the one I adjusted in the middle of the field in the bar in the watering hole, as well as some other amazing on the ground people in Watamu, Kenya. And I looked at Pembe, you know, we served about 1,000 visits in 3 days. And I looked at Pembe, I'm like, you know, this is your fault. You said that thing and it triggered me. So we're doing all this stuff. So you get ready. You got a lot of work to do. So it was just kind of fun to see how we're like all these like you talked about the tapestry, like how these things all interweave together. And I plan to go back at the end of February, and I'm still would love to have another chiropractor or three to come with me. And then we'll be taking a bigger team in July and then September. And my prayer is that we eventually have an actual clinic on the ground and maybe create a chiropractic school as well. And there's some talks about that with some leaders.
Well, I got tons of resources for you. I've
Thank you.
I mean, up to date, I've interviewed over 1,400 people in this profession in the past
Wow.
8.5 years. So I know some people that might be interested in mission trip work with you. And we'll have to get Kyle Troyer on the show. I know Kyle from many years ago.
Yeah, he mentioned that. I just talked to him today.
So, well, shout out to Kyle. Get on Chiro Hustle with me, Kyle. But yeah, good. He's in Iowa, right?
He is. Yes.
Yep. So, one Iowa guy to another Iowa guy, come on the show. But yeah, I mean, I think what you're doing is really your second point that you wanted to discuss, choosing the path that doesn't always have a flashlight.
Yeah.
And sometimes we have to trust. One of my other coaches, Jeremy Eugene Wilson, he would always tell me, well, the reason that you have 2 feet that point forward and 2 eyes that point forward is because that's the direction you're supposed to go. And whether there's lights on or lights off, you go that direction. And I think that that's something that's unique about who we are and how our bodies were designed, the innate intelligence inside of us, and how that creates the universal intelligence from above down, inside out. And the body needs nothing extra in it. It simply needs no interference. Once the interference gets cleared, the body self-heals, self-regulates. And what Pembe experienced was the educated intelligence. He realized that when his lights were on, that he didn't have to walk without or he had his own flashlight now. He didn't have to walk in the dark anymore. And I think that that's such an expose of an explanation for, I asked you about the 4 who you like to talk to. Well, Pembe is your Harvey Lillard. He's the Harvey Lillard of Kenya. And for me, I don't know if you knew this about me, but I've done over 800 spinal screenings. I call them scheduling events, but I've scheduled over 11,581 people. So to me, I would like to interview, or I'd like to talk to Harvey, because I talk to patients all the time. And I talk to new patients specifically that are dealing with things. And the number one thing I always tell them, Angela?
No, tell me.
We can help you. And I give people hope. Yeah. And when people find that sincerity within that message, they're all looking for something. They just don't know what it's called, chiropractic. So when you meet somebody where they are and you tell them we can help you, that clears out all of the illusion of loss, of guilt, of shame, of fear, of anger, and pain. And it gives hope. And I think that that's really what your message is today, is it's giving people that have had massive change in life the ability to keep dreaming and doing, but also chiropractic is a profession of hope. And, I tell people all the time, if I don't tell you the truth about this isn't my quote, this is Barry Anderson. He would always say, if we don't tell you the truth about chiropractic, then someone else will close you for drugs or surgery. So I think what you're doing is really, it's God's work. And God first, chiropractic second. And if people knew how valuable the profession of chiropractic was, and it's not some battleground for ego, it's a proving ground for the application that nothing else can do on planet Earth. There's nothing else on planet Earth that can do what a chiropractic adjustment can do. So I'm thankful for today's conversation with you. I'm thankful for the opportunity to get to know you better. I think it's very special what you're doing. And I didn't get a chance to offer my condolences to your late husband. So, I think you're doing extremely well for a woman that has gone through that. And I just want to give you all the encouragement in the world to keep on serving, keep on doing, and living in that life of abundance with service. Because I think that that's really in this whole episode of life that we're in, we get choice still. And the educated mind that can be the one that applicates with intent can change the course of humanity. And that's why I fell in love with chiropractic, being a kid from Davenport, Iowa, and working in a clinic and saving all these people's lives and interviewing all the practitioners. I've realized that there's nothing else that's quite like this. And I could be successful in doing anything I want to in this lifetime. But I realized that there was an empty space where nobody else was stepping into it and staying consistent and guarding the sacred trust of this beautiful profession. So when that meets with someone like you, now we have this amazing episode of the Chiro Hustle podcast that other people can listen to forever. And it's evergreen content. So I got to ask you, if people wanted to be 1 or 2 or 5 or 10 of the doctors that wanted to come over and do the mission trip to Kenya, where do we send them to?
Yeah, there's a couple of different things. I would say first email me, which is Dr. Angela at creatingubuntu.com, and I can give you that email address. We are also creating a nonprofit called Chiro for Kenya, Dr. Troyer and I, with some other amazing chiropractors, where we're raising resources so that we will be able to support people on the ground in Kenya and the communities, so that we can have these mission clinics that are dedicated to really creating an experience of life, of connection, of in the chiropractic. I love the idea of the experience of one. I think what's so important, like you talked about, for someone to feel seen, to feel like they matter. One of the things that I practice, and I think my version of what BJ would talk about, is when I put my hands on someone and I just feel this, like, I love you, as I offer that adjustment into their body, and just trusting that their body will receive it exactly how it's meant to. And that has been such a gift to experience. And I want to, these mission clinics that we have started doing in Kenya just feel so vibrant. And I want to invite people to experience it. And also, many people have not been to Africa. It's a different journey. It's a different way of life, experience. And I think it only enhances the way we go back to our clinics and how we serve, from a place that is just more open-hearted, that allows, I believe, for even more healing and connection, that allows for those adjustments to be even more powerful and profound. So feel free to email. We are working on our website and our Facebook group, all the things. But if someone would want to email me or reach out to me, I would love to share more. We do have some more information and places that you can share resources for Chiro for Kenya. It just was born this past 6 months, so we are getting it off the ground. But I love, as we bring different groups of people together, I have this belief that, we all rise when we come together with that pure intention to serve.
Well, in closing, I want to thank your brother for bringing you to Kenya.
I blame it all on him, but yes, thank you.
And is there anything I didn't ask you that you wanted to touch on today?
I think just, just to bring full circle when we don't feel like we have that flashlight, just to trust that something that you are being created for something. You may not always know the answers, but trust what that looks like. Trust that innate knowing that we all have been created in. And something beautiful does happen. And sometimes, and especially in this journey, I've now been to Kenya 14 times, and I've come back sometimes trying to share about what we do. And sometimes it can be difficult to share about something that's such a profound experience when somebody hasn't had that. So I just want to invite people to trust a little deeper, to be willing to take a chance, to be willing to risk a little bit of comfort for a whole new experience and a heart that will be cracked open in ways you could never imagine, because that has been my lived experience. And I just want to invite people along. And I would love to welcome you to Watamu, Kenya. For anyone that wants to, we do have a home there that has a lot of some wonderful amenities, including a very short walk to the beach. So not only do we get to adjust people and serve all day long, then we get to relax and recover in the beach and then serve the next day. It's pretty awesome.
Well, Dr. Angela, you're episode 765 of the Chiro Hustle Podcast. Thanks for being a part of this show that we do. And I'm sure we'll get a chance to interact with each other more. And
look forward to it.
Just really, really proud of you, really thankful for you. And I think we got friends for life here.
I look forward to the next time. Thank you so much for the honor. I really appreciate it. Thank you.
Yeah, it's a lot of fun for me. I wouldn't do it any other way. And just like I always close out the shows, I tell everybody, you guys are just one story away. Keep hustling. I'll see you guys in the next episode. Bye for now.
Bye.
Thanks for listening to Chiro Hustle. Don't forget to subscribe and check back next week to continue hustling.